What's up? I'm standing on business. Okay? You know I stand on business. All right? I don't even know what that means. I don't even have a business yet. But I can go register one. I just need to learn how to do it and get it done. But I don't know if I'll stand on it. I'll just conduct business. Well, okay.
All it means is that you're like backing your shit up, but you're not
Really?
backing. That's all. It's just like slang for like meaning like I meant what I said, you know?
Oh, I guess like the new form of taking care of business.
Sort of. But no, because taking care of business, you're just kind of like, I don't think that's the right comparison.
Okay.
It's more of just like, I said what I said, and I'm gonna back my shit up. So like,
I mean business. There
right.
you go.
Yeah.
I mean, and I mean business. Okay.
Right, more like that.
All right. Well, that's what's been going around. Of course, we're talking about King
Harris.
Yeah. Lashing out at his parents at the, what was it? Atlanta game this past Sunday?
Yeah, the Falcons. They had like some hip hop celebration going on.
Oh, okay. Okay. So they were in a suite?
Mm-hmm. Their own suite, yeah.
Okay. Well, I saw the clip, that you sent me, and I heard what was being said, but I guess I'm wondering, what started it, right? Why he, other than what I can tell from what he's saying is, I guess they were making fun of him, and he had enough, right?
Right.
So, but
I think that goes back to like things that we've talked about, like where it's like sometimes the how like the joke, there's some truth to the joke when someone's like, there is some truth behind what you're saying, you know, like kind of taking a shot, but like trying to be funny about it. And I think that sometimes as parents, we just think like, right, we can keep poking fun. And then like once they lash out, then we're like, yo, what the fuck? Like, but I think that's one of those things where as a parent, you should be able to read that better and to understand that like, not everyone has the same sense of humor, you know? And it's one thing if it's like you're poking fun and it's you and your kid, like, just you but if you're doing it in front of a bunch of other people, right? I think then that's like taking it too far. And I don't care about the comments of people being like, oh, it can't nobody take a joke nowadays and like our sense, like, no, it's just that like I feel like a lot of times people don't know how to address issues without trying to like make light of the situation. And it's like, oh, if you have something to say or like you feel some way about something, so then just say that and then don't try to make a joke because you don't have the balls to be like, hey, actually, this is how I feel about that. I know I'm not joking. But I feel like a lot of times it's like, right, they're just like, that's where I say like with comedians, you know how I've said it before. I was like, it's not that they're funny, they're assholes. It's just that they're willing to say what other people don't want to say.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
And I remember, and I've told you, I'm like, yes, like it's funny, but it's like they're just being assholes. That's all it is. And again, that's where I was like, for certain jokes, I do feel like those aren't jokes anymore. True. You know, like it's not funny. You know?
Yeah, and you could feel it, like the energy, especially when they say, it's just a joke,
right?
And it's like, well, I don't feel you need to say that because you're a comedian,
right?
But when they're being serious
right.
and making their point,
right?
Because
I think there's certain things you can't joke about, and then even if you're like a great, I just feel like why make a joke about certain topics, Yeah. And so that's why I feel like. Then people run with that though, and then they're like, now, right, because the comedian did it right now, so then when they come in like to someone that's like an everyday person, they approach it that way where it's like, oh, I'm just joking, you can't take a joke. And it's like, no, that's not a fucking joke. And not everybody has the same sense of humor. And it has nothing to do with being like sensitive or not. You know, it's about, because I keep hearing her saying about respect, right? And I feel like respect is like earned. You don't just get
Mhm.
it because you're like an adult, you know?
Right.
Because I feel like as a kid, sometimes adults are being hella disrespectful because I was a kid. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Like,
Because they can
because
be.
they can, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, I just feel like, oh, why? I know that one thing for sure. I was like, when I get older, I'm not gonna like do that. And that's why as I got older, maybe, yes, I was like rebellious or disrespectful, but because I was like, you're not gonna disrespect me is as I'm getting older, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know?
That's some truth to that because, like, some parents, I think it's easy for them to do it because it's their own child. And what I'm getting from that clip is that, like, him being, King resentful of his father or his parents at this point. Because I was hearing Tiny too. Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
she's in there because she's like telling him, she's one of the voices where he's like, it's a joke, like he was just joking, like,
mm. And
and
then the enabling, like of
right.
just allowing Ti like
Well, see, that's okay. So, because I know everybody's like, he's like that king's out of control, and I agree with all those things. I think that yes, there is something going on, but instead of like, because I feel like right now everybody's on Ti's side, right, and like painting him to be this like father that's like,
checking his son and
right, and like, and I know it's like a sensitive subject, like within the black community, as far as like, black fathers being involved in like, but I'm like, right, but just because they're like around doesn't necessarily mean they're involved. And those are the vibes that I get. And I think everybody's just like, my annoyance is I'm like, oh, so you guys are just forgetting what kind of shitty person he is, as like as a husband, as just a man in general. And so if you've already like fucked up on those things, do I really think you're gonna be like a great father, like following suit with the shit you've already shown us?
yeah.
Like, so that's where I'm like, I'm not necessarily taking King's side. I do think he needs help. And I think that the way they're approaching it is like not the correct way. And that still a kid, right? Whether he's 19, like, obviously you see him like lashing out. So there's like, he needs help, and
Yeah.
it's like,
Well, you don't try to put him on the spot too. Like if that's what they were doing in the suite. Like
well, I know, because I know people are going to be like, because King was the one that decided to like go live and like have, I think he was trying to like set the record straight by going live,
uh-huh.
right? And
Like finally
like,
expose something that he's
right,
been going through.
like to make his point. And like, I think he maybe thought like, oh, my parents are gonna like maybe back me up on this, and for them to like then do the opposite, and then in front of whoever the people were in the suite, and then keep poking fun of, regardless of like, regardless that I know that he like, I know because some people are saying like identity crisis because he wants to be from the hood so bad. I was like, I see that, but it's more like, right, but then
Who is he trying to mimic? His
right,
father.
right,
Because there's no involvement there, so all he knows is that from him. So he's
like
like
his persona. Like, I don't
exactly.
think they know him like as dad. They know him as like Ti, and like the rep that he has. And sometimes as kids, it's hard to live up to like your father's reputation. And I feel like King's trying to do that. Like, and 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 this is where I'll say, everybody keeps bringing up the reality show that they've had for like seasons, and I don't think they're doing it. It's been like a couple years since they've had it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they want to use certain moments from that show, right, to then like make a point that CTI is like this great dad, because he has had moments where he's checked King. But I was like, right, but he also enabled, since he was little, that kind of attitude that he already has, where he's like, talking back and being like a smart ass, and like, him encouraging him to like have like, you know, be promiscuous like at a younger age because he's a boy, and like we know the weirdo comments he made about his daughter and her virginity. So like,
Oh
do we really
shit! I forgot about
right?
that.
So I'm like, right. So I'm
Oh,
like,
shit.
so then when you're coming as like a
Damn.
parent,
Right.
like right, he's choosing to have the boys grow up a certain way and then the girls be a certain way, like really locked down, right? And so if we're seeing that, I'm sure there's confusion there, you know. And so that's where I'm like, how can you guys then be like, right, yeah, it's just like this is what, like, you know, fathers have to do. I'm like, no, but he was encouraging the wrong stuff when he was younger, and now it's too late because now he's an adult. Now he's 19. He doesn't have to listen to his dad. And yes, I know everybody keeps saying like cut him off. Why doesn't T.I. cut him off then? Right? Like there's still enabling going on for the behavior. Like, cause you know, they're poking fun at like, oh, he was born with like a silver spoon in his mouth. And like, I think King's probably getting tired of hearing that, part of it being because there's some truth to it. But at the same time, he's like, but you guys don't know my truth. You guys only know what we've chosen to let you guys see, and you guys are running with that and then like making up your own narratives about me, because I feel like that's what he's been trying to say. Even up before this, like he's been trying to like, good or bad, make a name for himself, right? And then like then also trying to set the record straight, because he's done other interviews where he said like, hey, you guys, at the end of the day, the reality show's a business and it's not reality. They put on for the cameras. We've known this. We call this out about any other reality show. Why is theirs different? Why do we take theirs for truth?
Yeah.
You know?
It's like he's been hiding it for his parents. Right. And now he's
done with that.
He's done with it. He's like, nah, the hell with this. Like, I've had enough. And what I was gonna say, right? And again, exactly, like it's just a TV show. It sounds to me like friends that I had that their fathers were there throughout their whole life, but exactly, they had no involvement whatsoever other than to say shit to them,
right?
Talk shit or make fun of them,
right?
And of course, my friends didn't like that about their dads, like,
right.
You know. And here I am thinking like, oh man, like I would have liked to trade places to see what that's like to have one, right? And then like, you know, hearing that from them is like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Like, right. What is up with these dudes like being that way, like, and then expecting that they'll just automatically, I don't know, not even say to become just like them, but to somehow just
that'll click for them, like, and then they'll just have shit figured out, like,
or you know, in the sense that like be surprised almost, or just be talking to them still a certain way and just, you know, I guess, yeah, again, just being surprised, like, why are you like this? And then trying to come back and pretty much what he's saying is that he wasn't as involved as we thought. You know, that's really what it comes down to. And he's just trying to shut him down, like trying to shut his own son down. Like, what are you talking about? And then exactly, he's going to come out with those comments like, you know, you were raised differently. But again, this is where we should look at that money doesn't matter. Like, being rich, like being born rich, problems. Or like, right. Yeah, like all of a sudden they're going to be in a much better place and, right. and happier than kids that don't have that.
Which is funny because I'm pretty sure T.I. has talked about it or touched on the subject where he said like, that sometimes I think with the poking fun of or like trying to hold them to a standard, because I think a lot of times parents compare like where they were at that age and what their kid is doing, right? And then being like, right, you're not, you know, you don't have the motivation, you don't have this to like get to where I'm at, right? But the whole thing about growing up, like, what do we tell ourselves? Like, as we're, well, me, okay, right, in particular, I'd be like, right, when I grow up, I'm gonna be like, do this, so my kids don't have to go through this, and this, right? Once you've made it there, it's like you forget that you said that, sort of. Like, you know it's there, but you're not, like, consciously thinking, like, right, I said I didn't want them to go through this. Now you provide that, and you see that's just not enough, or that's part of it. Because I know he said, he's like, well, the whole point was, yeah, I was trying to make it out of the hood and like have a set up, right? Mm-hmm. So then how can I hold that against him now? Now that like I'm letting him live a privileged life, That's what I wanted for him. So how can I throw it in his face to be like, you don't know what it's like, right? Because the whole point of me working hard was like, you wouldn't have to know that struggle, you know?
Yeah, but it also, again, like you just can't pay for that. You actually have to be there still.
Right.
And what do we know, really, honestly, like about him, meaning Ti, like from Tiny, that he was running around, like
Well, and he was like,
never really there,
from
right?
besides even just being that, like him being locked up, him having those like criminal charges, all the cheating, all the like, look how many kids he has with different women. Like I feel like, and because King is Tiny's uh son, right? So
Wait, what do you mean?
well, like
That's not
no,
Ti's
it
biological.
is,
Oh,
it
okay.
is, but I'm saying like he's the one that he stayed with her the longest, so that they're more of like as far as mom and having mom and dad, if that makes sense, compared to
Yeah.
the other kids, because he never was really with their moms, you know.
Oh, okay.
He has more stability with like Tiny, but at the same time he's been cheating on her and all these like scandals and stuff, right? So I'm like, King was really I thought was pretty close to Tiny, because like the fact she called him King, right? I think part of it is, yeah, resentment. I'm like, you treat my mom like shit,
Mm-hmm.
and yet this is what a lot of times fathers don't understand, right? Or parents, but I'm specify fathers, right? Just because your wife is forgiving of your bullshit and all the shit that you do, does not mean that your kids are going to be as forgiving and understanding
Mm-hmm.
of the bullshit that you put their mom through. And that goes, him being a son, I'm sure has a lot to do with like, yeah, you treat my mom like fucking weird, and she keeps staying. So at that point, part of it, resentment towards her is like, why do you allow this man to keep disrespecting you, regardless if he's my father?
Mm-hmm.
And just wait till the little girl grows up, and then she realizes like, yeah, you might have been my dad and I love you, but then when she realizes how he treats her mom, that's gonna like, every daughter goes through that. Your dad might be the love of your life until you realize what kind of a shitty man he is to like your mom. And then that makes like you look at him differently.
Yeah.
Like that's just what it is. And just because the wife puts up with it doesn't mean the kids are gonna,
Yeah.
And I think part of that is like an added thing that King's like going through, and then the fact of, yeah, like throwing it in his face that he grew up privileged,
Mm-hmm.
or trying to put out this like image of like, oh, I'm such an involved father,
Yeah, no, I don't think so. And I just thought of this because I don't know if you knew, but Michael Irvin, he's a former NFL player. He was calling out his son recently on live, like on ESPN or whatever the hell, like on that type of network, calling out his own son for making music about things that he didn't grow up on. But then I'm like thinking like, hey, is it the same thing? Like he didn't talk about how he was there though.
Right.
They don't ever mention like, hey, I tried so hard. I was there at your games and took you to school and whatever, try to push, like extracurricular activities and show up to your after school events. They don't ever mention that. All they say is like, hey,
you want to know why they never mention those things?
I can take a good guess, but go ahead.
Because they're busy chasing their dreams. So how are they going to be there for a kid when their bigger priority is their career?
Figured that, and because he was a Hall of Famer,
right,
and he had money,
right,
like all he thought was to provide
right,
the money, and that would just solve all those problems.
Right.
Yeah, and so I would have to say the same thing for Michael Irvin, yeah, no, the same exact thing, because they don't ever mention that. They just talk about like,
because you can't have
the wealth or whatever,
right.
the silver spoon.
Right.
But you guys don't ever mention like, I don't know what happened.
Right.
You know, I tried so hard, like from the get, you know, since they're a baby, I try to be there and like show them the right way. I didn't want them to experience this and that. Um, you know, they don't ever mention that. I'm
Because,
just thinking that they don't ever mention that. All they have to talk about is the money.
right. Because that's all they've provided. And that's where I tell you, like, men be so salty about, like, oh, you know, they're just after me for my money, gold digger this, gold digger that. And it's like, when that's all you're willing to, like, bring to the table,
Mm-hmm.
when you're saying, like, oh, right, it's because I have money. Like, why are you surprised that you're used as a wallet then, if that's all you're willing to really provide?
Yeah,
You know?
and now I gotta wonder because he got caught up with some chick at the hotel accusing him of trying to make a pass on her simply by saying that he was a Hall of Famer.
Right.
Again, using that status and money
Right.
to get his way. And
Because it's like I told you, men, their biggest goal, like, I mean, like, think about all the movies you see. It's like you gotta get the money first, and then you get the bit in it. And because the whole thing is like, once I have the money, I don't have to worry about being a good person, being like involved, because money solves those other problems for them.
probably
you
a
know?
settlement
Right.
because that kind of came and went too.
Yeah.
That kind of stuck around a little bit, but he got his gig back and that lawsuit went away.